Live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. As I mentioned to you, Jennifer, if you want to update your screen on a laptop,
Yeah.
you will be able to see the chat. And hello, Dave. Nice to meet you. And Robin, lovely to see you. Linda Tether, lovely to see you appearing on the screen now. Stacy, welcome, welcome. This is Projectkin's weekly live session, and today I'm thrilled with a very special guest, all the way from tomorrow. It never gets old, Jennifer. It never gets old. All the way from Victoria, Australia, we have Jennifer Jones with us. Many of you will know Jennifer from her fabulous Substack, Tracking Down the Family. And I've invited her along today on this in the northern hemisphere, lovely spring day, and now early autumn day for or mid-autumn day for you in Australia, to chat a little bit about some of the kinds of amazing work that you've been doing. As you may remember, many of you, Jennifer joined me in January along with Jane Chapman to talk about platform and how she was using WordPress and Substack together, what her experience was in doing both, because I know many people joining Substack have come from WordPress and really thinking about, can I do both? How do they work together? What should I be paying attention to? And then finally, One Place Studies. I am determined. I keep seeing so many people exploring One Place Studies, but not really knowing, not realizing there's a whole community of people doing this.
Yeah.
It has been a long tradition, or so it seems to me here in America, a long tradition in the UK with the Society of One Place Studies, and I am delighted to share and spread that idea. You'll see a series of two programs that uh, uh, Janet Berry did for the Projectkin about One Place Studies on our archive. So, Jennifer, it's a delight to have you. Tell us a little bit about what you're up to these days.
Yeah. Thank you, Barbara. It's lovely to be here, and hello, everybody. It's been fairly busy on tracking down the family in April because of the April A to Z challenge that I do every year. So that um, is a matter of publishing a post every day in April except Sunday. So even though I'm always fairly organised with it and have them all done ready to go before April, because it's a nightmare if you're trying to publish a post every day, something substantial that means something.
Yeah.
It's still a busy time, because there are 100 and I think 75 people participating
Who
from
is
all around
the
the world.
who is the sponsor, the organizer for this A to Z
Oh,
challenge?
someone in America actually. So
Uh-huh.
it's bloggingaprilaz.com, I think it is.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and it used to be when blogging was absolutely huge,
Yeah.
about 10 years ago, blogging was much bigger out there in the world.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Um, there were hundreds and hundreds of people doing it every
Uh-huh.
year. But it's
Uh-huh.
down to about, I think, about 175, I think, this year.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And blogging on all topics.
Uh-huh.
I think there's about a dozen genealogy bloggers.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and it's great. It's great catching up with them every day, like, and following their theme, because we choose a theme or not. You can blog on just a random topic every day if you'd like. But it's just lovely, reading their themes every day and, sort of
Uh-huh.
getting to know them better through the A to Z challenge. That's
Right.
really
So
great.
is the idea it's every day, but if you skip one or two and you still end up with 26 in a month, is that the goal?
Well, I suppose you could do that. My brain doesn't work like that. My brain goes, if you tell me I have to do it every day, I have to do it every day at the same time. That's just the way my brain works.
I think
But
we've
yeah,
talked
you could
before
do
about
catch ups.
I now know I have ancestors who were called nonconformists, which,
Yeah,
forgive my education, I didn't know what that was. Now I
yeah.
know. And of course, being a sloppy American, I now say, oh, yeah, I'm a nonconformist.
So
I'll
you
take a
would
rule
say,
and say, how can I break it?
you, you will probably do two a day and miss a day, miss another
Yeah.
day,
Oh,
miss 3
definitely.
days.
Definitely. I am the rabbit in this race.
Yeah, well, they won't send you to jail for that. You can do that. But there are bloggers on all topics. and it's amazing. Until I did the A to Z challenge, I didn't realise that people were blogging because you're sick in your own little interest
Yeah.
thing. Oh, there's people blogging about gaming and history, travel, books, makeup, just all sorts of
Anything.
really folklore,
Is
mythology.
there like a hashtag for A to Z one place studies, A to Z ancestry, family history, things like that?
No, it's just the A to Z challenge hashtag, just hashtag A to Z challenge.
I see.
But there's
Okay.
not a hashtag for the separate.
Yeah.
There,
Because you'll put separate hashtags on whatever you're
you do
hashtagging.
it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
and they're broken down into categories that you have to choose a
Uh-huh.
category when you enter.
Oh, I see.
Um, Early days there was, as with Substack, there was no genealogy category, so
Yeah.
I think we used to go into history then.
Uh-huh.
But now there's a genealogy category, and the
Uh-huh.
numbers each year have been. There was only one or two early days,
Yeah.
but yeah, so it's good fun. And my theme this year is the Earl Grey Orphan Scheme, of
So
which my
tell
grandma.
us about that. As I know about that because you taught me.
Yeah,
A year ago, we
yeah,
had, little over a year ago now, we had, as part of Project Kin, we had our
yeah,
members corner, and you were gracious enough to jump in, always ready for something. uh, Jumped into our members corner to write an article about yours at 3X great grandmother who was,
yeah,
yeah, Earl Grey girl. So tell us what the Earl
yeah,
Grey girls, Earl Grey orphans was all about.
yeah. That was a scheme that was devised in the time of the famine in Ireland.
Hmm.
And the idea was to send destitute girls from the workhouses to Australia, 14, 15-year-olds mostly, to start their lives over again. And there was also the other advantage that was going to come to Australia from the scheme was to provide future wives for all the men that were coming out here for, the gold rush and settlement. So you can just see straight away the problems that there may be, can't you? So my two times great grandmother was one of those girls. She had a successful story to her settlement in
To,
Australia.
to her
Um,
credit.
yeah, yeah. Uh, uh, Unfortunately, not everyone had, but it's hard to know because you don't find the successful stories.
Mm.
It's the dramas and the murders and all sorts of things like that that are in the records. My
Yeah,
great grandmother being successful in her settlement here, she's not in the records at all.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it only lasted for 2 years. I think there was 4,000 girls sent from memory in
Mhm,
that time,
mhm.
but there was such a to do about it. People were up in arms about these uh, prostitutes and wanton girls that were sent out here. They were just they were
So,
destitute girls in need. But
y-
um,
yeah,
yes, I know
there are just
there are
so many
so
layers.
I know there are so many newspaper articles about town meetings being held about girls coming to live in their area and what they could do to stop it, and how the rough little ruffians they called them, and yeah, yeah. So it's pretty
You know,
awful looking back.
one of the things, as you know, I feel very, very strongly about with respect to Project Kin is I want this to be a global community. And
Yeah,
and I'm limited to English, so we'll stick with an Anglophone community and stretching from the UK to Western Australia, even Hong Kong, and even India, where they're welcome to join us. One of the things that has been an extraordinary piece of an education for me is, first of all, I realized that so many of us actually, the photos that we have of our family members are those photos that were taken, duh, when photography was available. So there you
yeah,
are in the middle of the 19th century forward. And yet, this also correlates, not coincidentally, with the Industrial Revolution
yeah,
and with so many of you with ancestors who were coming over who were leaving England, leaving the UK because of the conditions created by the Industrial
Yes.
Revolution.
Yeah.
It's really a different perspective on it than what we see and I don't, perhaps my Canadian friends can comment on this, than many of us see from the same period of time when photography was available, which correlated with our, you know, Wild Wild West, and
Yes.
it's just a
Totally
different
different.
memory, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's really foundational.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I read somewhere, I've probably got it in one of my blog posts, but my brain's not that good these days. Um, the amount of descendants these girls have in Australia
Mm.
is huge, as you could imagine.
Is is there a official listing of the women who were part of that, who were great girls?
Yes, yes, there's a listing. I'll have to send you the link to that.
Please do. I'll include it
Yeah,
in the
I'll do
notes.
that. Yes, I shall do that. There is a listing of the ships and the names of the girls, but not all of them are on there. I think mostly they're on there. But and there's also commemorations. Like we have one in Melbourne, and there's one in Sydney.
Hmm.
Uh, the one in I'm not sure of the significance of the date of the Sydney one, but the one we have in Melbourne is on the anniversary date of the first ship, which
Hmm.
is the one that my two times great grandmother came on. So that's really good. I
Yeah,
always go to
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And that's held, by the waterside, and we've got a
Right.
commemoration stone, and yeah. So,
I'll
um,
include a link to that one in the notes as
yeah,
well,
all right,
because I
yeah.
have a photograph of the commemoration site, and I think I might have included a link to it as well, because it was
Oh,
just such
okay,
an
yeah,
extraordinary photo that you had shared with me earlier. It's really
yeah.
quite touching.
Oh, yes, I'll probably do. Yes,
As
yeah,
I said, there's so many layers of stories in there. One is the expectations that on a policy level, they thought this was a really good
oh,
thing to take people away from conditions of poverty.
mm,
Two, how
yeah,
to take these nubile young women into
yeah,
an environment where they previously sent convicts and think
yeah,
this was a really good thing and that no bad
yeah,
could happen. Um,
yeah. Exactly.
Three, that they didn't care whether any bad happened
They
or
didn't care.
not.
No,
And four, how it was all just forgotten.
exactly,
And I
exactly.
think that's, one of the really important bits of beauty here in what
Yeah,
we do in family stories, because we are telling those stories,
yeah,
digging
yeah,
deep and finding the threads. And if someone is in Australia and or knows they had Australian families somewhere, and
yeah,
there is a brick wall of of a grandmother that doesn't have any paperwork
yeah,
anywhere for where
yeah,
she came from,
yeah. There's a
a place to
chance.
look.
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah,
amazing how many people have never heard of the scheme.
I
And I
hadn't.
was the same,
Yeah,
I had been researching my great grandmother.
yeah.
I hadn't been able to find information about how she came here, and went to a
Mm,
conference
mhm,
where the speaker was speaking about this scheme.
mhm.
And, I thought, oh, I'll go off and just check that. And yes, that was where she was. But
Yeah.
looking at it back with today's eyes, my daughter went off to Japan for a year when she was 15, which was quite young.
Mhm.
And I think now she went off with total support, both
Yeah.
ends, from us and
Yeah.
from Japan,
Yeah.
contact constantly. And to think of these girls being the same age
Yeah.
and nowhere near as worldly, I'm
Yeah.
sure, just
Yeah.
being sent off on a boat and
And yet, even as you describe that, I think about places around the world, places around the planet where these kinds of things are done,
yeah,
especially women, whether it's
yeah,
the mother and baby homes that Daniel Loftus has talked about
yes,
and is working so
yeah,
hard to reconnect families. There were many such places, residential schools that we've had both in the US and in Canada. The Barnaby boys, is it? Coming out of the
yes,
out of the
yeah,
mining
UK,
communities,
yeah,
again, the Industrial Revolution. Marx and Engels had a
yeah,
lot to talk about.
yeah, yeah. And after the war, a lot of children were sent to Australia from England.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of them were sent without their parents. They had parents, They were
Yeah.
sent to the I think how it works. They were sent to the country to get out of London during the
Yeah.
bombings,
Yeah.
uh, and they were just sent off to Australia. And
Oh,
there's
bye.
lasting, sadness over that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
sort of happening through the generations, isn't it? Still,
Yeah. Yeah.
hopefully not
I,
still.
on one side, you can say, well, these are terrible things that were done everywhere in the
Yeah,
planet in
exactly. Yeah,
times of hardship.
yeah,
So no, but so, and here we are as families
mm,
digging deep and finding these
yeah,
stories. And that's,
yeah,
to me, is where the hope lies, in the
yes,
sense of not only reconnecting and closing the loop to families, but also learning,
exactly.
learning and building that empathy in future generations
Yeah,
to better
yeah,
learn for a better future to where we go. Well,
yeah. The more we can learn
let's
about it,
take care of
hopefully.
world peace while we're at it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
So, now that we figured that out, how
Yep.
about your one place? Tell us about that.
Uh, yes. My one place is fairly, like, it's 18 months old, so it's fairly new. But Haverfordwest history, about a town in Pembrokeshire, Wales. It's where my other two times great grandmother came from, or great grandparents came from. Um, so I've recently moved it over to Substack, and I'm just at the moment importing information across because it's fairly new. There's not a lot of
Yeah.
information on WordPress, so
Yeah.
I'm just going to import it, the important stuff over
Yeah.
that I want to keep
Yeah.
together. Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
I'm so inspired with our community having so many of you that were just doing one place studies,
yeah,
on the side that it didn't work coming up in the context of the conversations we were already having about your family trees and your
yeah,
specific
yeah.
ancestors, but to understand how that was done. I'm now really inspired by these one place studies, and as you might have seen in my comments and so on, just always thinking, how can we build on that?
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, I think they're great. Like,
Yeah,
there's just you want to learn all about your people,
yeah,
and you also want to learn about where they came from. But to go a bit more in depth in that, I found it really rewarding.
yeah.
And my people from Wales weren't. Uh, well, I don't know what they did in Wales. So they weren't in any papers or archives, or they were just people living their lives who then decided to come to Australia. With two
Mhm.
babies.
Yeah,
Um, and I've researched them in depth in Australia, but I know nothing about their lives in Wales really. So
yeah,
that was how I decided to start the one place study. So at the moment, I'm in the background of all the publishing and that, researching into the census that's over there for their parish,
yeah. I
find their fans. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm reminded of an old phrase. I believe it was Guy Kawasaki who coined it, to say that if there's something you want to know about, start a blog.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Because that will collect other people
Yeah.
to come in to care about where you're going and where these
Yeah.
stories lie. And welcome, Jane. It's lovely to see you join
Hello,
us as
Jane.
well, Jane Chapman from New Zealand. Because I had the two of you on that program in January talking about platforms, and in the context of one place studies, I think it's really interesting to think about. I like to reinforce this every chance I get. So you want to be thinking about the problem you're trying to solve first, and then the platform to solve it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
don't go thinking, oh, look, let's see what Substack can do. I'm going to do the thing that Substack can do. Instead, do the thing you want to do and
Yeah.
find the best way to do the other parts, some of which could be parts that are Substack. And that was kind of, to me, a
Yeah.
key takeaway from the conversation we had back in January. Jane has also done a one place study. And go ahead, Jane, and drop your link in here if you'd like. And taken a different strategy that is combining Substack and We Are .xyz, this other platform, um, yesterday, today, I was commenting on a post that Maureen Taylor did about her hometown in Providence, Rhode Island, which is a very small state on the uh, northeastern corner of the United States, with extraordinary. Thank you, Jane. Ah, that's right. And now
Yeah,
it's in a Substack, and you also have links uh, into your We Are platform. Carol McCullough has also talked about her one place
yeah,
study, which is very heavily in We Are.xyz. And I just love these different examples of different
yeah,
levels to take it
yeah,
where, because
absolutely.
that's kind of the
So when
point.
Yeah, and as you were saying, when I first came to Substack, I was all in.
Yeah,
I've left WordPress behind, and this is going to be the new me on Substack.
you do
um,
follow instructions carefully.
yes, I do. So I told you that. So many of my followers from WordPress came over, not all of them. And after a while, I noticed when you're blogging, you pick up, cousins from all over the world, as all genie bloggers know, and they're precious. They didn't all come over. So I've gone back to publishing also on WordPress and combining the two, and it's working really well actually. So I started doing that at the start of the A to Z challenge.
So
Um,
how, that's a really good point. How do you post to both places
oh,
without duplicating content, which is a big no-no across the web?
I know. So this is what I have to work out for the
Oh,
A to Z.
oh well.
For the A to Z, I've been duplicating. The
Uh-huh.
One of the rules of the A to Z is you don't. You have to have your blog open so people
Uh-huh.
don't have to log in to
I
read
wonder
your blog.
how to test. I wonder how to test whether that's penalizing you, because I
Yes.
don't honestly know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what might work is essentially posting first in the
Mm,
WordPress post so that you get that.
mm,
Um, you work around that constraint and then do an embed of that post or a link
yeah.
back to that post or a
Yeah.
preview, following on a model that Paul Chiddix has used
Yes.
with
Yeah.
his Chiddix family tree,
Yeah.
where he's often going back and forth. Also, now that
Mm,
Dear Myrtle is on Substack, Randy Sievers is another one. Um, experimenting with different
yeah.
ways to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm going to do it somehow as a maybe end of the month post. Just maybe one post at the end of the month with links to my.
Yeah,
Like to link them to my Substack instead of going the other way, and maybe some
yeah,
because most people have come over, but maybe some
yeah,
of the others that haven't might
yeah.
decide to do that. But
Substack will embed your own posts from your site. Have you ever noticed that? So if you take your own post and paste the link in, it just gives you a full preview, and then you can make a medium-sized one or a little small one at your choice. If you paste in a
right,
link from somebody else's post, it has a standard sort of block that
yeah,
isn't frankly as pretty.
yeah,
But
no,
here's a trick. you can uh you can take a preview of
yeah,
any external post. There's a few sites, I'll have to double check it before I post it, but there is a site on for designed for developers on the Facebook site, which is called something like the Facebook preview debugger tool, and it's used by social media types and developers to see what's the preview data for this,
yeah,
because it's an HTML protocol, right? You
yeah,
get that
yeah,
preview data, then you take a screenshot. You take that screenshot, you bring it in as an image into your Substack post, and then you can write around it. So it feels like it's embedded, and then you select the image and go Command Q. So it's got a link to the external
yeah,
site that you want to go to.
yeah,
Anyway,
yeah, yeah,
insider tip.
yeah. Yep, very good. We need all those.
It's right
Yeah,
out there with ways to clean a bathtub.
yeah, that's right. I don't want to know about
No,
that.
not my
No.
bathtub. You don't want to know. So what else is going on? Are there other things? I'm dancing around the sun here. Forgive me. The sun will
Yep.
be on my head in a minute. Yeah. This is the
Um,
secret reason why I don't usually have 2 p.m. programs.
oh, right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Are there other
Well,
things going on?
not really. I sort of. Uh, I don't. I'm not. When I say I'm, a bit anal with doing things that way, I'm not very good at planning. So I tend to,
Surprising.
yeah, I tend to think about what I'm going to post about next week, or tomorrow or the day after. Or so I've decided I need to plan because I get myself in a great big, all of a sudden
Yeah.
because I've got 4 blogs
Yeah.
on different. So all of a sudden I've got to do 4 blog posts today for tomorrow or something like that because I've
Yeah.
got nothing ready. So I've been planning about that. So I have all my May posts across 4 blogs all ready to go. And this is a
Wow.
big thing for me.
I don't know about not any good at planning. I'm impressed.
Well, it's taken an effort.
In
What
in
I have to do
engineering
now.
in engineering terms, we talk about an engineer can't solve a problem until they know what problem it is they have to solve. So
Right.
I was always in the role of the product manager, which is
Yeah.
the person that asks the developer to do something. And of course, the first
Ah,
answer they always give is, "You don't understand. That's just
yeah. Yep.
impossible. You're an idiot.
It's,
You don't
yep.
understand." And the truth is that, oh, well, I learned something, which
Yep.
is that the best thing to do is to get them excited about the problem,
Ah,
tease them
right.
a little bit about the problem.
Yep.
Then, when they tell you it's impossible, within 2 days, they come back and say, "Wait, I got an idea."
Yep. You're not just a pretty face, are you?
Well, you're very kind. But that's the thing.
Yeah.
And what's,
Yeah.
what's more interesting than something tasty to bite into? And that's really what this always comes down to. And I'm
Yeah.
actually glad you mentioned planning,
Yes.
because one of the reasons I do these Sunday programs is it really helps me to think and tune, and all of us, I like to think, tune into what's ahead, what's coming in the week ahead. Now, for Project Kin, I'm especially excited for a program that I have on our Thursday, your Friday, middle of the night Friday, but if
It's
you can
okay.
if you can make it,
Yep.
it would be welcome,
It's
but you don't
okay.
have to because it's I know, but it will be recorded. So for all of you in Asia Pac, you will see it on bright and early on Friday morning. Um, and this is the culmination, really, of this Lafayette project that I've been working on for
Yeah.
such a long time. What's important about it? I adore Lafayette at this point. It's
Yeah.
like been a wonderful fascination, but it's never really was about Lafayette. It's really about well, yeah, what he meant and why he's important, which is itself fascinating, but also to creating a generic tool that anyone can use for any kind of project and coming up with ways that simplify it, not only for things that you can contribute to my stuff, but even better, stuff that you can copy
Yeah.
what I've
Yeah.
created and make it your own, either about Lafayette, for those of you who are out here that story matters to, or your own story.
Yeah.
I think about, for example, there are national timelines that are important to
Yeah.
your historical timelines in Australia, for example. I don't know that anyone has a published or, the Australia Historical Society or something that exists, has walked through a key timeline of points in Australia history. You could
Right.
conceivably drop
Yeah.
all of that into a timeline, go research some key iconic images and whatnot that reinforce that, then use that framework to roll in your own family story. So
Yeah.
now, and maybe each of those links into external stories that are written. So, for example, I went out in February this year, so I think, and said, "Hey, folks, if you have stories that are relevant to the Lafayette story, I would be delighted to include it." So I have a handful of our Project Kim members who've tossed me their relevant family stories, and they are part of what I call the community connection. So I am I that in the process also shows you how you can link specifically Substack stories, link especially nicely,
Yeah.
because you will have a story, you will have a link, you will have a preview, you will have an image, blah blah blah, and it works very nicely. So
Oh, yeah, on
that's
Friday.
on Thursday our
On
time.
Thursday.
Thursday Pacific time. I found a couple of this uses an open source tool. This is I'm not an engineer. I didn't write this. It's an open source tool that's probably a dozen years old on a site for journalists. And you it walks you through the information of exactly how to do it. It is maintained and software updated. It just recently got an update, and it's kind of cool that way. So it's I think a good thing that everybody starts using it, and
Yeah.
I'm pleased to do that. I was able to do this with the support of a historical organization that had already done the research of the timeline, and that is the American Friends of Lafayette, who have been I'm now a member of, and they
Right.
were very helpful to get through all of that sort of stuff. I also have a question for everybody in the audience, all 18 of you right now. I'm welcome to have you all here. So I do these each Sunday. I never know who's going to join. It's a delight to have all of you. I can see you as the screen flips by. Um, I'm trying to decide what to do next weekend because you know what? At least in Europe and the Americas, it's Easter Sunday. Is it okay that I do these? My rule of thumb for these programs and relative to the worldwide calendar has been to self-interest here, allow me, but I respect American national holidays, which allows us to cover both holidays that are important to me, and which I don't have to disclose where my birthday falls, but important national holidays as well as some religious holidays like Christmas. I also will take things like Thanksgiving off. It's an American holiday, and I'm sorry, Canada Day and Canadian Thanksgiving. I'm sorry, I can't always keep track, but I'm also not doing that around the globe. Easter is a special holiday for many people around the world, and I really do respect that. But I also, there is a cadence to these kinds of meetings, and I want to be able to keep those going forward. So I will have a survey, and we'll see what the survey says. And if that doesn't work, I can bump it to the Saturday special, like a Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
Saturday Live, which is still Sunday for you in
Yeah.
Pacific Rim,
Yeah.
or to the Monday. So I may have that as a second question. I don't know. We'll figure it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
So, all of you in the chat, I have a new system that I figured out when I failed. Well,
You learned. You
I
didn't fail.
learned
Yeah.
during our mission genealogy office hours session last week, but I can have screen open over here so I can see your chats go by. And I noticed that all of a sudden we have a big group of people that just joined, so I feel badly about hanging up on you.
Oh,
Um, so if you have any questions, and did you know you can watch these now from a computer where you might, like me, have a keyboard attached? You're very welcome to toss any questions in there that we can cover. Give you a minute or two to do that. It's so nice to see so many familiar faces and a few
yeah,
new ones pop by.
fantastic.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
it's always a delight, and I think that really speaks to the heart of what we're building as a community.
Yeah.
Because as much as we love each other's words and thoughts and perspectives, seeing faces matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
It's
also
community for Substack is really
exactly,
important for
exactly.
me. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
fabulous. Yeah. I love
Yeah. So that's why we do events on Zoom so we can see each other in the chat and
it.
conversation. But we also can see each other in these things. And as we have special events and speakers at events, I'm always happy to invite you in to the Substack live session the Sunday before. And as a
Yeah.
matter of fact, whether we do it on Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, my guest next week will be Kathy Stone, who many of you know from Kathy's Corner, that she does every month, a fabulous program. You can see
Mm.
more of those at projectkin.org/Kathy's hyphen corner. And next week, she's going to chat a little bit about timelines in your managing your photo
Ah,
archive because it came up in a recent Kathy's Corner and as an idea of a way to do that. So if you know about important historical items like national history, Martin Luther King was killed, or important events, or about important family events, birthdays, and even obvious things that affect photos, like when someone wore braces. You wouldn't ordinarily see all those kinds of things on the same timeline, but when you're looking at a stack of pictures and trying to figure out what year it was, whether it was 1966 or 1968, it matters.
yeah,
And you will
yeah,
see, well,
yeah,
it'll be obvious from the photos, which it was, and the context of what you see can matter and make a difference. And that's a great point. Kathy's just dropped into the chat for all of you, and I think I'll drop this into the recording notes as well. She has said, message her with the timeline you want to use and join us to share. So building from the timeline tool that I'm going to talk about on this Thursday, if you have any sporadic levels of timeline, either something you've already built out in detail or an idea for a timeline, share it and let's
yeah,
inspire each other. So
yeah.
that's the whole
Okay,
idea of a
great.
community, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely.
with that, let's keep this short and tight and close this session. But I want to thank all of you once again for your active participation and energy to make these works. Oh, I feel all those hearts too. I now that I have my keyboard here, I can do it too.
Yeah, exactly.
So thank you
Yeah.
all. We'll look
Uh,
forward to seeing you again. Same bat time, same bat channel.
yeah. Th- Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you.
Bye
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 bye.
now. I got to take the notes.